It's time to get your geek on with Dave Gremillion.
Ah, yes. We are back again, San Antonio. Get Your Geek On is here at 9:30 a.m. The Answer, and I am David Gremillion. Welcome to Get Your Geek On, where we will talk Star Wars, Star Trek, DC, Marvel, video gaming, really anything that dominates this little world of ours in the name of geekdom. See, geek is not what it was 20 or 30 years ago. I mean, back in the 80s, being a geek meant you got your lunch money taken. Being a geek meant playing Dungeons & Dragons in a closet. Rolling your little 20-sided die. Now it's done everywhere. Now D&D is in. Marvel is in. DC is trying to be in. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But geek is very much in. Geek is now mainstream, and that's why you're here. That's why we are here to talk about the latest and greatest that is geek right here on 9:30 a.m. Talk Radio and www.930amtheanswer.com and on iHeartRadio. And if you're listening to us in the podcast in the future, ooh, y'all are cool. Glad you found it. Glad you're here. Coming up, I got some news about the show that I'm going to be spouting about. We are going to have some guests coming up in August. Later in August, because it is August already. Thank God. That means we're that much closer to summer being over and football being here. Thank you, God. Oh, goodness. I've got some video game music. That's what I get for trying to read the show notes and talk at the same time. Video game news that we're going to talk about, including some very interesting news from the world of Disney. They're going to try to copy Pokemon Go in a rather interesting way. Maxim Magazine has ranked the best 8-bit Nintendo games of all time. I'm not sure that I agree. In fact, I'm pretty sure I don't. We're going to talk about that. Suicide Squad. Is it a bomb? Is it a dud? Did the hype just completely let the air out of the balloon? We'll talk about that. We're also going to bring up, we're going to talk Rotten Tomatoes. We've alluded to it before, and we're really going to kind of get into the nitty-gritty of what is Rotten Tomatoes, why is there a petition against Rotten Tomatoes, and so on and so forth. Also, this week it's not the 50th anniversary of Star Trek, but they're celebrating it in Las Vegas. A big convention, many cast members are there in honor of the 50th anniversary of Star Trek. I guess they want to do it while it's summertime. And so, because, if it gets into September, when the actual 50th anniversary is, then kids go back to school and they can't go to Vegas, and so they lose money and that sort of thing. So we're going to break down Star Trek. All of it. Well, obviously I don't have time to go through every little part of it, but the series, the movies, we're going to go into it in depth through all that. And Goose is already, he has a baseball bat that he's kind of been gripping for a while. I have a feeling that he's about to take a swing at me when it comes to Star Trek Insurrection. So we'll get to that here in a little bit. I'll be wearing pads and a helmet for that one. But let me go through my checklist first. I got to make sure that I have everything ready to go. Do I have a back scratcher? Because if you're going to do a talk show, you got to have a back scratcher. Because true story, I had a guest on back in the days when I was doing a podcast from my living room. I kid you not, I got the worst itch in the middle of my back that I could not scratch, and I actually lost track of where my questioning was and what his answer was. And ever since then, I vowed, just get a back scratcher. Secondly, if you're going to do a talk show, also, if you're going to be the only AM radio talk show in America that talks geek, oh yes, San Antonio, we're it. Then have something to drink, have a beverage, throat gets a little dry. That works for me. Goose has his also. Thank you very much. And of course, if you're going to do a geeky show, I mean, you might as well just bust out the lightsaber. Old Blue. Ah, yes. Keeping the Minox at bay so that they don't chew on the power cables. Keeping Ewoks at bay. Keeping Gungans at bay. Keeping all sorts of... Okay, we're not going to get it. There will be a time and a place when we get into the Star Wars prequels, but not today. No. Okay, so we have everything ready. We're ready to go here, so let's go ahead and kick things off. A little bit of show news here. The month of August, I am declaring San Antonio month. We are based out of San Antonio, Texas, the 7th largest city in the United States, one of the fastest growing cities in the United States. I was born here. I was raised here. I love this city. And so on the only AM talk radio show that speaks geek in the country, we are going to have San Antonio guests. Later this month, I'm still working on scheduling because, well, you know, everybody has lives and they got things to do. But I have gotten commitments, and we'll be speaking with Ben Apple. Ben is an admin for the Alamo City Fleet Command. They do a lot of tabletop gaming. They do a lot of gaming in general. So I will have him here to talk to us. Peter Gonzalez is I believe, the founder, president, head honcho, grand poobah of the Star Wars Society of San Antonio. They do a lot of cosplay work. They do a lot of charity work. They do a lot of really great work, and he'll be here to talk about that. And Renee Guzman will be here. Renee is the geek writer. We need to find out what his title is. If not, we'll make one up for him. But I like geek writer, chief geek for the San Antonio Express News will be here also to talk to us. And I'm aiming for, I don't want to give out the list because I don't want to jinx myself, but I have emailed a large number of celebrities that are coming to the Alamo City Comic-Con in October, trying to get them on board as well. I've gotten a few replies back, and a lot of people are saying it's really early. Let's see how things go. I've only got one rejection so far, but it's early. I'm going to keep working it. Alamo City Comic-Con will be here before you know it. It'll be right before Halloween. I'm working it. I'm going to try to get some guests either in studio or on the phone or by Skype or carrier pigeon or whatever, binary code, however, whatever it takes to get guest interviews in here for y'all before the Comic-Con happens. And then we'll just go down to the Comic-Con and just rock it. Yes, we will. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll talk about that more, though, as we get closer to the event. All right. We have quite a bit of video game news to chat about, so let's just go ahead and dive right in here, shall we? Okay, so the Fireforge Games is not a name that a lot of people know, and it's not a name that a lot of people will ever get to know because they just went bankrupt. They went bankrupt 3 days after completing the Ghostbusters 2016 video game. Another victim of the Ghostbusters plague. Ghostbusters will not be making its money back at the box office. That's official. And now this company has officially bit the dust.
The power of penny compels you!
Yes, compelled them right into bankruptcy. The development studio behind the video game filed for Chapter 7, claiming that they have debts up to $12 million. Yeah. See, most games, the studios get a year or more, sometimes 18 months to work out. You notice there's not a Force Awakens video game? Yeah, probably because if it was in the works, which I don't think that it was, but it would take a significant amount of time to work on. It took them a long time to get Battlefront out. So keep in mind that when I say this, they developed this game in less than 8 months. Less than 8 months to get this game developed, to get it on the storyboard, to get it developed, and to get it out. And it received a dismal score from Metacritic of 31 out of 100. And then the company bit the dust. Yeah, so Ghostbusters the movie, not a big hit. For whatever reason. I mean, you can say it's misogyny. You can say it's, it's a bunch of, women hating me. I don't care what you say. The movie didn't do well, and that's a fact. It bombed at the box office, and now it has officially taken this video game company down with it. Okay, so this little bit of news was just made. This was just made known to me a little while ago. Numerous sources, including ThemeParkInsider.com, are reporting that Disney, oh yes, the House of Mouse, will be developing a Star Wars-themed Pokemon Go-style game. Now, Pokemon Go obviously is all the rage, even though this recent patch, they made it suck a little more. Seriously, I had like a CP65 Pidgey I was going after. It took me 4 Pokeballs, and I'm like level 14. Come on, guys. No bueno. All right, so here's what they're doing. Disney has announced a new Star Wars-themed augmented reality game called the Star Wars Rebels Interactive Adventure. The game takes players from their hotel rooms into the Star Tours, the Adventures Continue attractions, either at Disneyland or Hollywood Studios, whichever coast you go to. And you will get to use your smartphone game app to look for, quoting here, hidden information and gear needed to complete your mission. Sounds like fun. Players will be disguised as Imperial security officers as they work to complete the assigned mission for the rebellion. Now, here's the catch. I know what you're thinking already. It's like, what do you mean disguised? I mean, how do you... What, you get like a little cover for your smartphone? How does that work? Yeah, no, we mean literally. The Star Wars Rebels Interactive Adventure is not a free app that you can just download and walk into the park and play. Instead, it's a merchandise package that goes on sale August 15th. The package includes an actual Imperial officer disguise, head to toe, mission gear such as a lightsaber. What's Imperial officer doing with a lightsaber? It's kind of weird, but everyone wants a lightsaber. A rebel medallion. Again, you're Imperial officer. I guess you're like working both sides. It's the Jyn Erso connection where she's all undercover. Oh, okay, all right, I get that now. Mission gear such as lightsaber, rebel medallion, packaged in a commemorative rebel lockbox. Now, let me ask you this: how much would you pay to walk around Disneyland or Disney World, play this augmented reality game that's kind of Pokemon Go style in a Imperial officer agent style uniform with your lightsaber, your lockbox, and your medallion? How much would you pay to play this? Like what? $70? $100? Goose, what do you think? How much would you pay?
Well, it comes with a costume, so there's the cost there.
Okay, so let's say $70 for the costume.
Right. And it has, possibly a collapsible lightsaber.
Collapsible lightsaber, it should be about $35. Remember, it's Disney, so all the prices are inflated. So let's say $35 for the lightsaber.
And it has a commemorative Rebel token.
Well, that's going to be about $30 by itself.
So, and you get to roam around Disney and find things.
And it's augmented reality. So let's say 150 and 175 is about the total we're coming up with here.
Now, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Can I, does park admission come with that?
Ooh, why? As a matter of fact, park admission is required to play the game, but is not included.
Oh, so I'm thinking like 150 tops.
So 150 tops. Yeah, it's going to be $499. $499 on top of needing park admission. Now, it does say here that you get to start with it like in your hotel room, so I don't know if it's on-site only. It doesn't say if it's an on-site hotel or not. I assume it's not. It's just that you can't really play it until you get onto the property itself.
I have a clip for the guy who thought that up, but I don't want to mix franchises, and I have a use for this clip later, so I'm holding back.
Okay. All right, we'll hang on to that one there. So this is the Disney description of it. Through augmented reality on their smartphone, Ezra Bridger from the hit TV series Star Wars Rebels guides them on an undercover mission, slipping on the included Imperial security officer disguise. They'll head to the Star Tours, the Adventures Continue attraction, where hidden data they're carrying will be transmitted in hyperspace. Once the mission's completed, they'll be directed to their resort room so I assume it has to be on property, to unlock a mysterious box holding a Rebel Medal of Honor. So what I'm interpreting is this. Disney is known for this. They pioneered this where you buy something and you can make it, they'll take it to your hotel room while you stay at the park the rest of the day, and your stuff will be waiting for you. So I assume that here's what you do. Okay, so you get the disguise, you go on the ride, you do whatever it is you're supposed to do in the augmented reality, and then when you go back to your room that night, the Rebel Medal of Honor will be waiting for you, probably in a nice commemorative lockbox there on your bed, for $500. $500. Okay.
You're still going to do it, aren't you?
Yeah, I really am. Well, no, I'm not, because I'm sure it doesn't say if it's for adults or kids. But, I mean, if it's Ezra Bridger...
It's for children of all ages.
That's true. At Disney, everyone's a kid. So, I was actually at Disney 2012, and, dude, oh, my God. I didn't have kids at the time. Oh, my God, dude. I mean, I was a kid again. It was awesome. Okay, so there really is no segue from talking about Disney and how you're a little kid again to talking about Maxim Magazine. So we'll just dive right into it. Maxim Magazine ranked the best 8-bit Nintendo games of all time. And I got to say, I don't agree with the list. It's written like someone from Maxim Magazine wrote this. Okay, this is not io9.com. This is not GameSpot, or I'm sorry, GameStop. This is not this. It's Maxim Magazine, for God's sake. We know what they're known for, and it ain't video games. So here's their list. For whatever reason, they put out the top 13. They didn't do top 10 or top 15. They did 13, which is kind of weird. Number 13, Super Mario 3. Should be on the list, I agree, but I think it should be higher. I just don't see it underneath Mega Man 2, which is number 12. Mega Man 2 was a great game, don't get me wrong, but Super Mario 3, I think, was the better game. Zelda 1 is number 11 on the list. How is that low? I mean, that's... Really? The original Legend of Zelda game is number 11? It's underneath Punch-Out. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out's number 10. That should be on the list. I agree with you there. Number 9 is Metroid. Yes, absolutely should be there, provided you have the map, because otherwise you get lost and get real frustrated like I did. Number 8, Ninja Gaiden, the game that taught me how to swear. Yes, that game. Now here's a funny one. Hogan's Alley is above Ninja Gaiden, Metroid, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, Legend of Zelda, Mega Man 2, and Super Mario 3. Hogan's Alley. You remember from Back to the Future 2, you got to use your hands? That's like a baby's toy. Yeah. Now, I knew a lot of friends that had the Nintendo growing up. We played Dunk Hunt with the Zapper all the time. I don't remember a lot of people playing Hogan's Alley. Above that, number 6, Final Fantasy, the original, the one that started it all. You could argue the one that started the RPG craze for 8-bit and beyond gaming. Number 5, Batman. I beat the Joker one time in my life. Oh my God, that was hard to do. Number 4, Rad Racer. Rad Racer? Number 3, RBI Baseball. Okay. Number 2, this one I enjoyed, but I don't think it's the second greatest Nintendo 8-bit game of all time. Skate or Die. I enjoyed the heck out of this game. I thought it was a fun game, but Skate or Die? Above Legend of Zelda, above Final Fantasy, above Ninja Gaiden, really? And number 1, Contra. Contra, the number 1 greatest 8-bit Nintendo game of all time, says Maxim Magazine. Yeah, no. Contra was a fantastic game. It had the whole 3D element, had the spread shot. It was a great game. And everybody knows the code. Up, up, down, down, left, right, A, B. That's what happens when you go too fast. Up, up, down, down, left, right, B, A, select start. Okay, everyone knows the code. I love that they worked that into Wreck-It Ralph, by the way. That was really cool. But number 1, and I'm sorry, where's Kid Icarus? Really? No Kid Icarus? You're gonna put Rad Racer on here and Hogan's Alley, but not Kid Icarus. Yeah. Okay. So all right. So I want you to tell us. Go to Facebook.com/GYGOofficial. I have a post up already. I want to know, is the list right? Do you agree with the list? What games should be taken off and what games should be taken on? I want to hear from the people. Facebook.com/GYGOofficial. Check it out. Like the page, love the page, follow the page, and tell me, what do you think? Okay, so with that being said, let's move on to talking about the movie that just came out, the movie we've all been waiting for quite a while here. Let's talk some Suicide Squad.
I want to leap over buildings, want to fly over the shores, save the people from the villains, catch the crooks who rob the stores, write my name upon the sky, and when you call me, I'll be there faster than...
All righty. Okay, so we also want to thank our friends for this segment, brought to you by our friends at Alamo City Comics. Alamo City Comics on 281 North, just a little bit north of Brook Hollow. They're on kind of the west side of 281. Old figures, old comics, new comics, stuff from the 80s, 90s, and today. I sound like a radio DJ there. But really, it's a fantastic store with art, posters, comics. You want to be able to check out our friends over there at Alamo City Comics. All right, so Suicide Squad is already mired in controversy. It's only been out for a couple of days now. And wow, it's incensing people. Now, beforehand, the hype was huge for this movie. Either people really wanted to see this movie or people really, really hated this movie even before it came out. It cost, we still don't know really what the production budget is, but people have said it's more than $250 million, which is more than Batman Superman and more than Man of Steel. That's a chunk of money. That's a big chunk. But already on opening night, it created quite a bit of controversy. At the premiere, which was held in New York City, I believe at Radio City Music Hall, someone yelled out, Marvel. And in the heat of the moment, the director repeated it. He yelled out also. Oh my goodness. Now he immediately tweeted out, yeah, sorry, my bad. Heat of the moment. My bad. It's just not what you do. I get there's a rivalry there, but so far the rivalry is rather one-sided because Suicide Squad, it's garbage now. If you check out RottenTomatoes.com, that is. And RottenTomatoes.com, has put it into the 20s. You know, they rate it from 0 to 100%, and they got it down into the 20s. Now, I want to talk real quick about RottenTomatoes.com. Some people are out there saying that it's biased against DC movies. They're saying that it is in favor of Marvel movies, and there's actually a petition to shut down RottenTomatoes.com. Now, it's a stupid petition. It really is. I got a screenshot of it, and it's poorly worded. The spelling is not good. The grammar's not good. The capitalization is just kind of weird. It's kind of written like somebody in the 5th grade made this, and it's just a stupid petition overall. But here's the thing, is that Marvel's lowest rated movie from RottenTomatoes.com was Thor: The Dark World at 66%. DC Movies has come out with 3 movies now, and Man of Steel was the highest one at 55%, which is about where I would put it, honestly. Man of Steel, it was okay. It wasn't spectacular, but it wasn't awful either. Batman Superman got 27%. For Batman Superman, keep in mind, yeah, the movie it didn't live up to the hype, but it wasn't 27%. 27%. Pixels was 17%. Alvin and the Chipmunks Road Trip was 16%. Batman Superman was 10% away from Pixels? That's nuts. I'm sorry, there's no way. And now Suicide Squad has dropped into the 20s as well. Now, keep in mind one thing about RottenTomatoes.com. They don't write reviews. They have no critics on staff. That's not what they do. What they do, much like our website, MyGeeksNews.com, it's just an aggregate. They pull, the guy who writes for the New York Daily Post. They pull from the guy from the LA Times and the Chicago Tribune and the San Antonio Express News and the Austin American Statesman, and they put them all together, however many that they want to have, because obviously you can't get everybody. They put them all together and they say, okay, out of these 300 reviewers, 191 said, it's stupid. So it gets that's what rating it gets. Now, there are those who like it and there are those who don't. The ultimate opinion as to whether or not you want to see the movie still resides with you. The difference is now that TVs are bigger and cheaper, and now Netflix is a lot more affordable than spending $112 to go to the movies and then spending another $212 on popcorn and Cokes. Now you can say, no, I'll wait for it on Netflix. And that's what a lot of people do, and there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't necessarily mean the movie's bad. The ultimate opinion still resides with you. If you don't want to hear what RottenTomatoes.com has to say about a movie and you want to go see a movie, go see it. Who cares if it gets 4% on RottenTomatoes.com? If you like it, you like it. Who cares? You like the Ghostbusters movie? Go see it. You like, Die Hard? Go see it. Who cares what the reviewers say or think? I'm still going to go see Suicide Squad. I am. I just, the trailers got me interested. That doesn't mean that I'm going to walk out of there and love it either, but it's my opinion and it's my choice. So don't whine about Rotten Tomatoes. Don't whine, moan, and complain about what reviewers or critics say. Just don't even bother, because it's your decision, man. You want to go see a movie? Go see it. Who cares? Anybody who bases whether or not they're going to go see a movie in the theater based on a critic, dude, man, you need to seriously think about some things here. Coming up after the break, we are going to talk about a little bit of Star Wars news, and then we're breaking down all of Star Trek. Oh, yes, 50th anniversary time. So don't forget, come back here right after the break. Thank you very much. We'll see you here on 9:30 a.m. The Answer and 9:30 a.m. TheAnswer.com. Welcome back. If you're hearing Hendrix, that means you're hearing Get Your Geek On. I don't know, people are like, wait a minute, what? Hendrix and Get Your and Gee? How does that work? Well, here's how it works. Yeah, we play a lot of geeky music, but man, come on. Come on, San Antonio. You got to love a little Hendrix. We got to throw that in there for you. All right, so we have a little bit of Star Wars news that we're going to cover, and then we're going to go right into Star Trek. So let's just dive right in. Let's hit some Star Wars.
I'm looking forward to completing your training. In time, you will call me Master.
Yes. As promised, there's the Star Wars geeky music for you there. All right, so rumors are flying about now that Star Wars will have a live-action television series on ABC, kind of what they did with Marvel and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and that sort of thing. This rumor's been flying around pretty much since Disney bought out Lucasfilm back in October 2012. It's nothing new, but it is something exciting, because Star Wars has never, ever done a live-action television series, per se. Yeah, they had droids. Yeah, they had the animated Ewok Adventures. But you know what I mean, a live-action, adult-oriented television series. Now, before you all get your hopes up and they're like, oh, my God, it's going to be all dark and adult. And yeah, it's not on Netflix. It's not on HBO. Calm down. This is not Game of Thrones with lightsabers. Although I've seen those videos where they replace the swords on Game of Thrones with lightsabers. That's pretty cool. But no, don't start thinking about that. But here's what I want. I want to touch on this briefly before we start talking about Star Trek. If they're going to do a television series, a live-action, adult-oriented television series, I don't want a set in the future around Force Awakens television series. We're going to have books, we're going to have novels, we're going to have graphic novels and movies, and we'll be covered there. I also don't want them to cover the Clone Wars. We've done that to death. I do not want a young Yoda series. No. First of all, that would require way too much CGI or puppetry for a television series. I don't think they would go through that. I don't want a young Kenobi series either. I don't want to see a younger Qui-Gon Jinn and the Adventures of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't want that. We've seen Kenobi to death. Enough. I want an Old Republic series. Oh, yes. Give me some Nomi Sunrider, Ulic Qel-Droma, Darth Bane, Exar Kun. Yes, that's what I want. I want Old Republic. There are so many characters there. There are so many good stories that have yet to be told. Yes, I know there's Knights of the Old Republic and there's Star Wars The Old Republic MMO. But you know what I mean? I mean, there's not really, as far as Star Wars go, this is mostly an untapped area. And I really hope that they decide to go that route. God, don't give me a Yoda origin story. I don't want a Yoda origin movie. I don't want to know. I don't. Let Yoda be. I don't want to know what his last name is. I don't want any of that nonsense. All right. So, here we go. We're going to have a little bit of fun here. We're going to break down, in honor of the 50th anniversary, all of Star Trek.
Yeah, it's big going on. Better make sure that your face is on. And if you're in the fleet, rep your uniform, cause it's future chic. All the haters know we got photon torpedoes. Throw the Vulcan up if you're not from Romulus, and stay with me now, live long and prosperous.
Yes. Okay, so this week they are celebrating in Las Vegas the 50th anniversary of Star Trek. 50 years, half a century of Star Trek. And so what we are going to do here on Get Your Geek On, we are going to break down briefly there's 50 years to go through here. The entire Star Trek franchise. No, I'm not touching on comic books. No, I'm not touching on the animated series, although I wish I could because it was actually kind of good. I had to make some cuts somewhere. I'm sorry. And no, we are not going to discuss the novels. They're not canon anyway. And so, come on, we got to make choices here. So, all right. So, starting with the very beginning, the original series. This series was fantastic. It broke so many barriers. It broke the color barrier. It broke the national barrier. They had a Russian officer on the bridge of the Enterprise, which in the 60s. I mean, this isn't too long after the Cuban Missile Crisis. Okay? This is in the heat of the space race. In the heat of the space race, there's a Russian officer on the Enterprise. This was incredible. The first interracial kiss on television. Star Trek. Just incredible. And many adventures, many fans canceled after the third season, and their budget was badly slashed in the third season as well. You can really tell the difference between the second and third season about how bad the budget was just cut.
So, interesting thing about that, do you know why the budget was cut for season 3?
Because the producers didn't like the show?
It was actually canceled after season 2, and a letter writing campaign brought it back for season 3.
That's right.
And you can tell the budgets from Look at the City on the Edge of Forever and Spock's Brain.
Yeah. And of course, season 3 is also the episode that, the infamous one where they basically have a dog in costume with a horn attached to its head. And the little lava monster, that was awful. It's so bad. The budget is so bad for season 3, but they got it in there anyway, so that was good. I don't know what else there is to say. You can make all the jokes about Shatner you want, but if you go back and you watch the original series, man, especially if you put yourself in that time period, man, what a series. What a series. Okay, Next Generation. This one I remember growing up, a lot of people were against it. A lot of people didn't like the Next Generation. There were, oh my God, there were so many comparisons between Picard and Kirk. You can't replace Captain Kirk, man. You can't do. Who's this bald-headed guy? He doesn't even get the ladies. What is that all about? You can't do this. There was a lot of pushback. And I remember Jonathan Frakes said in an interview that the cast was well aware somewhere in the first season. They're like, man, this may not work because there's so much pushback. But once you get through the first season, because the first season, honestly, is not that good, and the second season is a little better, kind of, sort of. Right?
Star Trek The Next Generation is when I really started adopting my 2-season rule for a show. I'll get through the first 2 seasons. If you can show me effort and that you're trying in the first 2 seasons, I will continue watching.
I have a 5-episode policy, actually. Because 5 episodes, 23 minutes, that's about the same amount of time as a movie.
If you gave Star Trek Next Generation season 1 5 episodes, you'd never watch it again.
That's certainly true. So once you get through the first season, you're going to be okay. But that first season is pretty... And they had cast problems. Tasha Yar she was not happy, and so they kind of let her go by the wayside. And yeah, and of course the uniforms. They complain about the uniforms because there are no pockets. And Marina Sirtis, she called that her cheerleader uniform because she's wearing the knee-high boots and the short skirt, and she was basically like, "Okay, stand up, sit down, fight, fight, fight." That was her thing. But after the second season, and especially to me, it's when Crusher comes back on the show, when Gates McFadden comes back in season 3 and replaces, what's her name, who played Dr. Pulaski. That's when the show really starts to take off.
Diane Muldaur.
Thank you. I had the Diane part, but I couldn't remember.
She was also in the original series.
Yes, she was. So after that, I really started to get into the show, and a lot of people did as well. Then Best of Both Worlds came up. Everybody's jaw drops when they see that cliffhanger, and everybody loves it from there. And, of course, the rest is history. It's not really as groundbreaking as the original series was, but it didn't need to be. It's still a solid show with some excellent writing. And that leads us into Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine also, it dragged a little bit in the first season. And I remember them talking about how, what are we going to do? Because we're not traveling from planet to planet anymore. We're stuck in a space station. And the writers had to kind of scratch their heads and come up with, like, what are we going to do here? There was a plot thread, major, serious plot thread in the first season that just went nowhere. They just dropped it, and that was the Orbs of the Prophet. You remember the big shiny things that supposedly like the Cardassians had a whole bunch of, and the Bajorans had that one that they were going to study, and they weren't sure where the others were? Yeah, it went nowhere. They completely dropped it. They didn't drop the religious part of it, but the orbs never really, kind of, sort of. But my point is, let me kind of narrow my point here a little bit. The whole search for the orbs, the idea that they had to rescue them from the Cardassians and get them back into the Celestial Temple, which was the wormhole, that never really came about. The orbs, actually just the one they had on Deep Space Nine, was just mostly so they could have these weird kind of funky vision quests. And I'm going to be honest here. The pilot for Deep Space Nine drives me crazy. When Sisko talks to the prophets and he's all like, oh, well, I don't really have the time. And they're like, time? What is this? Well, you see, I'm a human being. Human beings. What are this? Well, you see, I have a pulse. Pulse. What is this? And I'm just like, God, shut up already. I mean, what are we doing here? It just drags so much. So the first season you gotta get through, but I like the characters. I really do. I really like the characters. And then you get into the Dominion War. And you get to find out, you get our first little hint of who the Dominion is, like in the second or third season. And it's just a hint. Just a little whisper about what's on the other side of the wormhole. And then they send the Odyssey in, the Galaxy-class starship, and then all hell breaks loose. And you're like, oh, my God. Are you... oh, man. And the Dominion War gets bigger and bigger and bigger until there are literally thousands of starships involved. The Romulans get in, and so on and so forth. The true highlight of Deep Space Nine for me. And remember, I'm not a big fan of space battles. Okay, those are plot points, and they're shiny toys. Avery Brooks. Avery Brooks steals this show. He is a fantastic actor. He can play the officer, he can play the tough guy, and he can really act. The episode where, all of a sudden they're all human back in like the 50s, and they're writing those magazine serials, and Avery Brooks is screaming, "It's real! It's real to me! You can't take an idea!" Dude, my God, what an actor. So, fantastic. That gets us into Star Trek Voyager. Yeah, not gonna lie, this show had an uphill battle from the beginning. And I don't just mean because they had a woman captain for the first time. That was part of it. There was some initial pushback from Trekkies because it's a chick captain. Although Kate Mulgrew, I still thought did a passable job. She wasn't my favorite captain. She wasn't. I never really knew what to make of her. She was stern, but she was lenient. She was funny, but she wasn't. She drank tea or coffee from that little China cup. I couldn't quite figure her out all the way. But they had a ship now that for the first time wasn't a flagship or a space station. It was just kind of a ship. It was like scientific research or something. I don't know. And they had all this potential because they flew to a completely different part of the galaxy. So, man, new planets, new races, new stories, new characters, and it just kind of...
I remember in January 1995, Star Trek Voyager not only was the first Star Trek show since 1969 to be on network television. Mm-hmm. It launched the UPN network.
That's true.
And
it was big on UPN.
From what I remember, they were trying to get back to the feel of the original series with the show, with Voyager, because Next Generation most of it had already been done in the original series.
True.
So they're trying to get back to that exploration and finding new things that the original series did so well.
I think part of the problem it also suffered from was that it was on at pretty much the same time Deep Space Nine was. The first couple of seasons, they overlapped.
5 seasons.
It was 5 seasons they overlapped with it? Yeah, so that was...
The good thing is DS9 was... The bad thing about that was DS9 was syndicated.
Yes.
So in some markets, it's possible they did compete against one another.
That's true. That's entirely possible. Now, the saving grace that everyone likes to point to for Voyager is Jerry Ryan as 7 of 9. Yeah, do I need to say anything else? I mean, really? Come on, that's... Okay, all right, so... My wife loves Voyager. She really does, and it's not as awful as some people say, but it's really not spectacular either. So then we get to Enterprise. And Enterprise, I think, suffered from Trekkie burnout. I really think that's what it suffered from the most. The stories were okay, the characters were okay, but the fact that we're also going back a long time before James Kirk and his Enterprise, I think that made a lot of people go, okay, because they're talking about how this is the first Warp 5 starship when we just saw Picard go Warp 9.7. And they're just starting to get out in deep space. It's like, yeah, but we've been there. We know who the Klingons are. We know who the Romulans are. We get this already. And also keep in mind that this was around the time of the Star Wars prequels. And I think a lot of people were kind of putting a lot of backlash against prequels in general. It's like, why are we going back? Why don't we go forward instead? Because that's the direction they've been going. Next Generation was forward, DS9 was forward, Voyager was forward, and now we go not just back, but way, way back in our history.
As a fan, one thing we always wanted to know was, how do you get from First Contact to the original series? How do you get that? What goes on in that 200 years? Enterprise was supposed to do that. It took place 100 years after First Contact, about 110 years before the original series.
Good time period.
You would not have gotten Scott Bakula on a sequel series. He wasn't going to do it.
Probably not.
The only thing that suffered, Rick Berman did not want to do the original series. Did not want to go back to that.
True.
And also, the first 3 seasons of Enterprise was a lot of wasted potential, so much so that they didn't have Star Trek in the title for 2 years. The first 2 years, it was Enterprise.
I did like the theme song, though.
I love the scene.
The theme song was good, and the idea that I like the intro itself, how they're showing Apollo 11, and they're showing Apollo 13, they're showing the Enterprise space shuttle. And I like that. I really got a kick out of it.
Season 4 was what Enterprise should have been the entire time.
So that brings us to the movies. And we're going to try to cram in all these movies in really fast. You ready? Here we go. Lightning round. Motion picture. You got to put yourself in the time period if you're going to watch this thing. You can't watch it right after you watch Star Trek Beyond. You can't do that. It was the 70s. 2001 was a big influence. Close Encounters of the Third Kind just came out. Yes, it drags. Yes, it's slow. But there also hadn't been any Star Trek for damn near a decade. So they were just happy to have it. Yeah, just don't raise your expectations and don't think of it as a Fast and Furious movie. You'll be okay. Wrath of Khan. Oh, my God, this movie. And, yes, the battles were nice. They were well done, and we hadn't seen anything like it in Star Trek before. We had not. In the original series, it was, woo, here comes a flash of light at you. Oh, my God. And the people would, like, roll to one side, and then they, roll to the other with the camera. Wrath of Khan was outstanding. The battles were nice, but the real reason this movie was so good was about Kirk. Kirk's getting older. Kirk is accepting a promotion he doesn't want. It gets him off the Enterprise. He's now an admiral. Remember, Khan says, Admiral Kirk. He's like, I want to choke something. He got promoted. And now he has to also deal with loss, something that he hadn't done. He said he cheated death and patted himself on the back for doing so. And now he didn't cheat death. Now he lost crewman. He lost Spock. Oh, spoiler alert. So him dealing with that was really, really good. Search for Spock. Solid film with some real genuine emotional moments. When they're stealing the Enterprise and the captain of the Excelsior says, Kirk, if you do this, you'll never sit in the captain's chair again. Dude, I'm like, that's an emotional moment for me. And Kirk also hits, I think, his lowest point. He's lost the Enterprise. He's a fugitive, and he lost his son to get Spock back. That's pretty low. Voyage Home, Star Trek 4 in the 80s. It's a very 80s movie. It's they might as well call it Star Trek Here Come the 80s. That was about it. It was the biggest box office success of any Trek movie ever until the JJ movies. It was a bigger box office success than Nemesis or Insurrection or First Contact. And I admit I'm not wild about it. Yeah, it's funny, but it's just kind of out of place for a Star Trek movie, especially considering the 3 movies you had before. It's got some great humor to it, but again, it's like, am I watching a Star Trek movie or a documentary? What is this?
You're watching a Star Trek story set in modern times.
Yes, set in the 80s. Exactly. It's the Star Trek crew come back to the 80s, and it's just like, I don't know, Kirk and Spock riding a bus and taking out a punk rocker. Seeing them wander around and try to figure out what money is, it's just kind of weird and out of place. But still, a lot of people like it, and that's okay. Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. Oh, my God. My eyes. It burns. It burns. That movie was awful top to bottom, inside and out. I mean, starting with the whole row, row, row your boat. You have Leonard Nimoy, William Shatner, and DeForest Kelley singing row, row, row your boat. I mean, I'm sorry, was Mary Had a Little Lamb, was that too much? Was that too much for Shatner and his girdle to take? I mean, what the hell, man? Come on. And you have a stupid Klingon thrown in for stupid reasons, and and they deal with God. Really? They go to the center of the galaxy. It's stupid. But Star Trek VI, Undiscovered Country. Redemption. Yes, that should have been the title of the movie. Star Trek VI. We're sorry for the last one. Here's your refund right here. Good. The twist was good. The plot was good. Kirk now deals with his hatred. He's dealt with getting older. He's accepted that. He's dealt with promotion, demotion. He did that. Now he has to deal with his hate of Klingons, and he does that rather well too. I enjoyed it.
And that movie, if you had stopped there and not done Generations, it'd have been fine.
Perfect. In fact, they sail off into the sunset with Kirk giving, I think, the best send-off line ever. Second star to the right, and straight on till morning.
Well, also in his log, he says, where no one has gone before.
Passing the torch to the new guys. But then they decided to do Generations, I think because nobody knew how to write a Next Generation movie. So they're like, let's just keep doing Shatner for another movie. And that one sucked.
They also needed to destroy the bridge of the Enterprise D for Voyager.
God.
And what a better way to...
No.
There's no better way to do that than that.
No, that was stupid. You have this bird of prey, which has like 12 people on it, and they take down the Federation flagship while Riker, he literally fiddles while the Enterprise burns. If you look in the background, while they're flaming everything, you see him fiddling. Instead of saying, oh, I don't know, this is the flagship of the Federation, let's unleash this anti-Borg weaponry against that little tiny Scout-class vessel, he starts talking about plasma coils with Michael Dorn. What? Okay, all right. First Contact. Passable. It still has issues. I don't like Angry Picard. I don't like Angry Picard. I never have.
The line must be drawn here. This far, no farther. And I will make them pay for what they've done.
Because it contradicts so much of what he did in the Next Generation series. If he wanted to make them pay, why didn't he unleash Hugh and the virus upon the Borg? If you want to make them pay, what? Insurrection. No. No. This movie is bad. It's visually unappealing. It makes no sense. And again, it goes against Picard and the Next Generation.
All right, here's where I unleash back-to-back clips.
Are you out of your Vulcan mind?
I think you did a little too much LDS.
It's not a good movie. It's not a good movie. I'm sorry. It's not a good movie. The visual effects are on par with like an episode of Babylon 5.
You're knocking Babylon 5 now?
Well, I'm knocking the movie versus TV. I think they get a bigger budget or whatever. All right, and then Nemesis. God, just if you're going to send them off, you couldn't do any better than this. What an awful, just not good, nonsensical action movie Picard didn't do.
It was the Star Trek V of Next Generation.
I wouldn't go that far. I think Insurrection was the Star Trek V of the Next Generation.
No.
Anyway, all right. So we're coming up on the Sarlacc pit here. So let's go ahead and cue it up.
What's going on? We just got to the Sarlacc pit. What's that? It's this disgusting, horrible creature that's worse than anything you could ever imagine.
We just reviewed 10 movies and 5 series in like 12 minutes. Okay, so my wife wants to chime in on this one. She wants to throw in idiot drivers. Not bad ones, just the idiot drivers. So for my wife, put them in. Rick Facer is on here. Facebook.com/GYGO official is where you go to get your Sarlacc Pit recommendations in. Rick Facer wants to throw in Homer Simpson just to see if he can get stuck in its throat. Because he's fat. Get it? All right, put him in. Alex Green wants to. This is from Australia, actually. Alex Green is he's an Aussie from down under, and he wants to throw in Brad Groh. So I say put him in. Let's see here. Tyler West, not that I want to bring us down, but the guy who raped a person I care very much about, he deserves to live for 1,000 years being slowly digested. Tyler, I say, put him in. Dana Cantrell says, the Niantic community liaison, if there is one. Yeah, a lot of backlash about Pokemon Go and the fact that now you need 85 Pokeballs to catch a Pidgey. Yeah, thanks a lot. So go ahead and put them in. Joshua Yen, this is a good one. I like this. He wants to throw in John Cena because the Sarlacc would never see him coming. John Cena! Put him in.
Yeah, the people who think Nemesis was better than Insurrection.
Yeah, no. Get your finger off the trigger. Get your finger. I'll tell you who I'm throwing in. People who think Insurrection's better than Nemesis. Put them in.
My finger's not off the trigger.
Put them in.
Under protest.
Under protest. All right, so I want to thank, special thanks to Grawlix CMS. There's the music, right on time. Special thanks to Alamo City Comics for helping to sponsor the show. Don't forget, you can catch the podcast at 930amtheanswer.com. We're on iHeartRadio. We are streaming. We are here. We are not going anywhere. Don't forget to stay geeky and get your geek on every single day.